Greetings everyone, my name is Luna and I'm going to give critiques of artwork. Now, disclaimer, for one, I've asked all the artists in this video for their permission. So I'm not just randomly going around the internet seeing some artwork and then deciding, oh yes, this artwork needs a critique. I'm not doing that. Please, if you're going to make a video on people's artwork, it might... I think it's nice to ask them if they're okay with it. Secondly, anybody who watches this, be nice to the artist. Even if you see their work and you think, well, I could do that 1,000 times better. Great for you. I'd like to see your work. Be considerate of the artist. I think these two I'm going to talk about now are pretty good, but for in the future, if I show artwork of artists that are just starting out, like everyone starts somewhere, and honestly I wasn't very great when I was starting out. I still don't think I'm too great. But there's a difference between critiquing and just being kind of rude. Alright? So, be considerate with your comments, that's all I ask. I'll be attempting to show the text or show what I'm saying on screen in case you can't understand what I'm saying, like by my voice. I know my voice might be a bit either grating because I have an accent or just hard to understand because I have an accent. I'm not a native speaker. I can't say some words. I'm aware of that, that's why I'm a bit nervous, besides the fact that I'm going to upload this and potentially the entire world to see. Doubt that'll happen, hopefully, but hopefully not. But you get what I mean. Lots of people can see this and me stumbling to make a video with equipment that isn't too great. Yeah. On to the actual reviews of the artwork. I'm going to start off with Kayoko. Starting out with a name I already can't pronounce, I'm very sorry. They're currently not active on any platforms, but they might get a Deviantart. So if you see that I'm going to put all the links to the artists, where they upload in the description. So definitely check that out. So in this case, if you next to Kayoko's name see that they have a Deviantart now, even though I in the video said they didn't have any active platform, well, apparently that changed. So definitely check it out in the future if that's changed. I'm going to show the work on screen for you, so you can sort of go along, see what I'm talking about, otherwise it'd be a bit vague after all. Also, I've pre-written these reviews in this case. I've actually first send it to them in text before deciding to record them. So if it sounds a bit weird, that's why. I'm still practicing. I'm not too great. I'm flailing around not knowing what I'm doing. Enjoy. Alright, to start off, I sent you 2 links and they go to 2 different playlists that are very useful. One is about fundamentals and one is about basic anatomy. I think both would be good for you to watch. Honestly, every artist could use a refresher now and then, including me. I'll include these links in the description for anybody that watches that's curious. Now, to move on to the actual drawing. The idea is nice and the whole paper was used and there's no large amounts of unused unnecessary blank space, so that's good. I notice, especially with traditional works, the blank space, unnecessary blank space, sometimes blank space is good. Unnecessary blank space is often something beginners struggle with. Anyway, I can see you didn't use many references at all. The hair is very spiky. I understand you tried to make it flow since she's underwater. However, it currently looks unnatural and, as I said, way too spiky. Hair can be tricky and I myself don't have the experience with drawing hair underwater to advise you per se on, okay, this is what you have to do. All I can suggest is to get a reference or maybe watch a few specific tutorial videos on the matter. Next is the anatomy and proportion of the body. The shoulders look good, but the left arm really doesn't connect naturally and doesn't look good on its own either. It's just not how an arm looks. I can't say much more about it than that. Sorry. Practice, that's all. The hand looks pretty decent, but it's way too small. A person's hand palms are about as big as their face. You can try it yourself, just put your hands on your face and you'll see. Then further down we have the legs. You got the knees in, but both legs don't seem to connect to the torso at all. It's like as if you sketched the skirt first and didn't really sketch the body and then put clothes on. Nor do they look like they are drawn in the right perspective either. One last thing on the body is that you probably want to practice a bit more on the breast too. I can't get the things right either though, so like boobs are hard. Proko has a good video on breast. I suggest to watch it. The links to the tutorial videos, the lists, are also from Proko, by the way. So if you go to them and you just search on his channel or just search Proko and breast in YouTube, you'll find it. Lastly, overall framing and fish. The fish in the background just look flat and not much like fish. A reference would probably fix this. References are your friends. Believe me, just use them, it's great. For overall framing, well, the perspective of the entire image is just flat, sadly, making all objects in it look flat too. I can't explain ways of constructing perspective in with just voice without showing you visually how it works. But the fundamentals playlist covers perspective too, so I suggest to just watch that. I try to always end on a positive note. I think a lot in this image you could fix by just knowing more, so watching the videos will probably help you a lot. I like the seaweeds and I like the idea of the character. The design intrigues me, which means that you already did a pretty big thing right, catching the attention of the viewer and making them think or wonder. That's all for Kayoko. Alright, moving on to the next artist and the next piece. This piece is by TouchieTouchie and she has an Instagram, so check out the description to, well, see more of her works. So let's jump right in. Starting off, good job with the photo. Everything is in frame and there isn't too much blank space. Also, the photo is head on and the piece seems to be lit quite evenly. I know how difficult it can be to get a good shot of a traditional piece myself, even though I don't do much traditional anymore. The struggle with certain kinds of sketchbooks, it's seriously, oh, it's such a pain. And before I go further into critiquing, I must recommend these two playlists to you as well. Links in the description for all others. Now about the actual critiquing. What is most notable to me is that the fabric of the dress looks very flat at certain points. Higher up near her waist it looks quite nice, but the further you layer it down, the rougher it seems. I suspect you might have drawn it hastier and hastier as you grew tired of drawing the same folds over and over. Fabric can be quite a difficult thing, and designing clothes and dresses for your characters takes quite a bit of skill. I myself struggle with design of clothes a lot. I think for this dress, the kind of fringe you chose to work with only really works good as an accent, but not to make full dresses with. I suggest looking up more reference images of dresses like these next time, and seeing what kind of layering is used and incorporating that back into your own work. The second most notable thing is the way of shading. You use hatching, which works well in certain parts of the drawing. For example, it works well under the chin, at the hair, and at the upper body in general. But for the lower layers and fringes, it's not really working in most cases. I suggest you look up some techniques for hatching and cross-hatching on YouTube. I'm not too familiar with the technique myself. I don't do this kind of art style often, if at all, only at Inktober. But I do know that you use hatching to accentuate the form of whatever you are shading. What I also must note at the bottom of the dress is the lack of shadow and clothing interacting with the ground. I don't suggest adding a full background, but it's generally a good idea to have a ground of sorts. In most cases that is a simple shadow. In your case that should also include the cloth folding differently. Once again I suggest just using references for this. At the end, I just want to add that I absolutely love the top piece of the dress. The texture you added looks absolutely stunning, and the slight line in the middle to represent the stitch just adds such a wonderful detail on top. The breasts are also drawn in quite well, and the anatomy checks out. The hand and glove is very well done, and her hair looks nice and flowy, with not too many details and shading added to make it look messy, but just enough to give it depth and texture. The cheekbones are very well done, and so are the facial features in general. All things considered, the piece is very wholesome and shows a lot of skill with the basics. All you really need is some practice with cloth.